Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Asheville Vedic Astrology YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ryan's Vedic Astrology. I'm very happy to be able to present to you today videos related to the most important planetary combinations that you need to know, astrologically speaking. These videos were created by an Asheville Vedic Astrology apprenticeship student, one of her final projects, and what Anna has done is she's taken the Avashtas and she has explained each combination of each Avashta for each planet. So they might not all be posted already, but please check the playlists tab for all of the videos for each of the planets so that you can learn these planetary combinations. The Avashtas are an excellent way to understand how the chart is going to give its fruits. It's also an excellent way to understand how planets are being helped or hurt. Because sometimes you can have a difficult planet which is actually being helped by its friends, and so it's still able to produce that which it's meant to produce within the chart. In the same way that many people are confused when they have an exalted planet or a planet in a trine and good dignity, and it doesn't give the results that they expect that it would. Usually it's because of the combination of the Avashtas, and maybe there are enemies of the planet hurting the planet, or the planet is in a difficult state. So this is a wonderful series of videos, and please take your time to study it. And for supplementary information on these videos, you can see the chapters in the book, The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, Volume 2. There you'll find written descriptions of these planets, and it can also give you more understanding about how to apply and see how the planets are functioning within your chart. So once again, I'm very happy to present this work of Anna, one of our really skilled astrological apprenticeship students. She's been at this for at least 4 years now, and this is one of her final projects. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this series of videos.
Hello and welcome back to our series on the Avashtas. In this video, we're going to talk about the Avashtas or Jupiter. So let's get started. Okay, what does Jupiter represent? It represents our behaviors, philosophy, wisdom as well, religion, wealth, children, or what we produce in the world. And let's remember that Jupiter is also a planet of growth. Now, the first Avashta regarding Jupiter is going to be Saturn shaming Jupiter. And this happens when Jupiter is conjunct Saturn in the 5th house, or when Jupiter is with Saturn and Rahu or Ketu in any house of the chart. Now, the person is going to feel like there's no sense of purpose, since Jupiter is purpose, and that is going to be taken away by Saturn. And they will find it difficult to connect with their truth. They will not have a connection to a belief system. Jupiter rules belief systems as well. And this could also play out with fanaticism, as they will overcompensate, and they will be a little bit too fanatical about a belief system, about a religion, about a guru even. But really deep down, it's not going to be something that matches their inner truth. They might also be too focused on suffering, and they might not understand the bigger picture. Saturn will take over those qualities of Jupiter, like wisdom, like being connected to a higher purpose. Okay, then we've got Mars shaming Jupiter. And this happens when Jupiter is with Mars in the 5th house, or when Jupiter is with Mars and Rahu or Ketu in any house. So Mars is the fighter, right? So it's going to make one fight over petty things. They might be very idealistic, but they will feel shame because they can't live up to those ideals of Mars. Remember, Mars is also our ideals. Mars knows what is wrong or right. So it's going to be hard for Jupiter to live up to those standards. And they will be unable to live life the way they should be living it. Okay. Now, what happens when the Sun is shaming Jupiter? And this happens when Jupiter is with the Sun in the 5th house, or when Jupiter is with the Sun and Rahu or Ketu in any house. So the Sun is going to give shame over religious or philosophical ideas. Remember, the Sun represents authority figures. So authority figures might make us feel shame about our philosophical ideas, about a belief system, a religion. So they're not able to express ideals or to talk about the path they're on because of fear that they're going to be criticized by authority figures. These authority figures could be very disrespectful of their realizations. So they're going to start not following their beliefs. Also, their creativity, Jupiter also represents creativity, and their personal philosophy is going to be shamed by the Sun. This could also play out in the culture, the way we raise children, religion, how we manage money. That could also be shamed by the Sun. And there's also going to be a difficulty expressing wisdom. These people might try to explain the realizations that they're having spiritually, maybe, but others will not listen. Now, when we've got Garvita or proud Jupiter, this happens when Jupiter is in Cancer, its exaltation sign, or when Jupiter is in Sagittarius, so 0 to 10 degrees of Sagittarius. So a proud Jupiter is going to have fulfillment in the areas of life indicated, the areas of life where this occurs. So there's going to be wealth, children, creativity, opportunities, wisdom, greater understanding, and this is going to be a source of healthy pride for them. So they will not be boasting about their wealth or their creativity, their children. They will have a very healthy pride about it. They will also have a capacity to share wisdom that people listen to. And they will feel at peace with their belief system and culture as well. They could also feel peace in their marriage as well. And remember that Jupiter represents the husband. Now, they're also going to be charitable and helpful, as they know that they can give freely and they will always have enough to get by. So this is a very nice position to have in the chart. It will make somebody quite wise and quite grateful about what they've got. Okay, now when Mercury starves Jupiter, this happens when Jupiter is in Gemini or Virgo, Mercury signs, when Jupiter is conjunct Mercury, or when Jupiter is aspected by Mercury. Okay, so this will make the person overanalyze everything. Remember, Mercury is very analytical. And they will look at all the research before making a decision, but it will be a little bit too much. It will be too focused on analyzing things. Then if a choice has bad results, they will feel like they were lied to. And they will tend to mismanage financial issues as well. They can't enjoy wealth because they're focusing too much on finding ways to get wealth or to manage their wealth. Okay, Venus starving Jupiter. Okay, so remember the enemies of Jupiter are Mercury and Venus, and that's why these two planets are going to be causing starvation. Saturn's also going to cause starvation because it starves any planet that it's next to. Okay, so Venus starving Jupiter happens when Jupiter is in Taurus or Libra, when Jupiter is conjunct Venus, or when Jupiter is aspected by Venus. So a person with this combination will be too concerned about finding happiness, as they will think it comes from external things. Okay, we can look at the house where this starvation happens in order to see which external things they're going to be focusing on too much. They will feel like that area of life is going to give them total fulfillment. So for example, if this happens in the 5th house, they could be too focused on children. In the 7th, relationships, business partnerships. In the 6th, it could be health. In the 10th, it could be their career. Okay. In the 12th, it could be spirituality, or even bed pleasures as well. Okay, so they will feel like they need more and more in order to feel satisfied. Yeah, there's always this feeling of nothing's enough. Nothing's enough. Okay, remember that Venus is a Rajasic planet as well. Okay, so that's gonna give that lack of satisfaction, of always wanting more and more. And Venus also are luxuries. Okay, so they will want more in order to be happy. Okay, now Saturn starving Jupiter. And this happens when Jupiter is conjunct Saturn, when they're together. So the person will have difficulty having faith and purpose in the area that's indicated. But this area will be where they lack hope as well. Saturn will give that sense of not having hope, because they will not have a belief system, and they will also be hard to counsel. They might have a fanatical mentality because they will be a little bit too rigid. And there's going to be difficulty having inspiration or creativity. Saturn will give them a sense that there's no point in trying and wasting time on useless activities. Okay, so Saturn is going to take away that feeling of happiness that Jupiter has, that feeling of fulfillment, of being happy because you know the universe is taking care of you. Now, thirsty Jupiter. This happens when Jupiter is aspected by its enemies, either Venus or Mercury, and it happens in a water sign. Okay, so it's going to happen in either Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. Okay, and remember that thirst is not as strong as starvation, but they're going to have difficulty with overthinking before making choices, or they might be too concerned about finding happiness. Again, let's move on to the planets delighting Jupiter. So Jupiter's friends are Sun, Moon, and Mars. So let's start with the Sun delighting Jupiter. So this happens when Jupiter is in the Sun sign in Leo, or when Jupiter is aspected by the Sun. Okay, and remember that when they're together, it's not gonna be delight, it's going to be agitation. Okay, so a person with this combination will have a greater sense of purpose because there is consistency. The Sun gives that consistency, that commitment towards a purpose. The Sun is also pure. It's going to have pure goals, noble goals. Remember that the Sun is the king, so it's going to be noble and it's going to try to help its kingdom. The Sun also represents intelligence. So this person will have the capacity to fulfill goals very intelligently, okay, and in a committed and loyal manner as well. Now, the Moon delighting Jupiter, which happens when Jupiter is in Cancer, the Moon sign, when Jupiter is conjunct the Moon, or when Jupiter is aspected by the Moon. Okay, so this is the area where we'll find a greater sense of purpose, where we feel that our needs can be met. Okay, remember that the Moon is our individualized consciousness, it's our manas, it's our ego, it's our feelings, it's our capacity to feel receptive. Okay, so when it's delighting Jupiter, it's going to give Jupiter that sense of having a sense of purpose. Now, what happens when Mars is delighting Jupiter? And remember that Mars is discipline and training, it's logic, it's quickness to act. When there's an emergency, Mars is going to go and act quickly. Okay, this happens when Jupiter is in either Aries or Scorpio, Mars signs, or when Jupiter is conjunct Mars, or when Jupiter is aspected by Mars. So Mars is going to help Jupiter find the fastest, most disciplined ways to success. And wherever this happens, it's going to be a very successful part in the chart because the person will actually be able to achieve their goals and also feel very fulfilled about it. Jupiter is going to feel like they're doing the right thing with the help of Mars, acting very logically and quickly. They will have ability to understand logically and philosophically, how to get the most out of that area of life. Good. The next Avashta we're going to talk about is cruel Mercury. So that's Mercury with a cruel planet agitating Jupiter. Okay, so this happens when cruel Mercury is aspecting Jupiter. And the person will feel a lot of anger and frustration. They might feel they were taken advantage of or even given bad information. Okay, so remember that Mercury is information. And the wisdom of Jupiter is misled by manipulation of facts or by unfair games. Okay, so Mercury in this case will give unfair games or information that is not right. So Jupiter is going to feel very frustrated because they feel like they've been lied to or they've been played with. Now, what happens when the Sun is agitating Jupiter? And this happens when Jupiter is conjunct the Sun. So the Sun, or authority figures, is going to overpower Jupiter So Jupiter is going to feel held back and unable to follow its inspiration to find fulfillment. And it's going to become angry. Authority figures are going to stop them from expressing their beliefs or from following their beliefs as well. They might also be stressed about wealth and resources, and they won't feel the freedom to be creative, as Jupiter is a creative planet, where the sun is going to agitate that. The sun will probably criticize that creativity or not give them the freedom to be creative. And they will also feel like someone else is causing their problems. So that's going to create a lot of anger. Okay, and this is the end of Jupiter's Logitaria Avashtas, and I will see you in the next video on the Logitaria Avashtas of Venus. Thank you for listening.